karanasan ko po, tingnan pa namin sa lahat ng media.
Media educators are working hard to defend press freedom.
This corruption in media. No country choose
You're watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. Joining us today is one of the key members of President Aquino's cabinet. He's a spokesperson for the president. Welcome, Secretary Edwin Lacerda. We're going live tonight with the Secretary.
Good evening, Jing. It's
Kamusta?
first time
How are
here.
you?
Good, great. It's been a while since I saw you.
Oh yeah.
2010 during the campaign. And
During the campaign, yeah, a
Yeah.
long time ago. Seems like another lifetime.
Yeah.
How have you been? How's the job been? How's your job?
Well, I think you have a better job than mine. You're supposed to be part of the comms group too. But it's a great job. I'm so honored to be serving this president. It's really been 2.5 years of great service to the Filipino people. And it's an honor and a privilege to be with the president while he served our countrymen.
Okay, hold that thought. I have to ask you, did the president sign the RH bill?
I didn't get the memo, Jing. So we'll confirm it some other time, but I don't have the memo for that yet. So
Okay, so we'll wait.
we'll wait. So I haven't gotten the. I'm not going to be the one to make the news for that. So
But what are the plans if the president does sign the bill? Is it going to be live on TV, or is it going to be hush hush, or you're just going to make an announcement? What's it going
well,
to
my
be?
deputy will do that. Will
Abby.
break the news. If at
Abby's
all.
going to break the news
Yeah.
when it happens?
Yes.
And that's it. When
That's
she does break the news, sign din siya.
It's one of those bills that passes through the president's table. So, and he said that he's going to sign it at the end of the year, before the end of the year.
Okay.
So we will just make an announcement.
I'm sure you know there's a lot of buzz that's saying that it's been signed.
You know,
It was
Jay,
signed December
I should have
21.
agreed to record that this
Okay.
morning.
All right. Back to your job. You like your job. Is it difficult working for a person like Noynoy Aquino?
It's not difficult working for the president. He's very approachable. He had always told us that if you need to talk to me, you don't need an appointment. Just knock on my door, and if you have concerns, and we do have that. We always meet on a regular basis. At least once a week, we get to chat, and that's aside from those days that he would suddenly call us in.
How
But
often-
on a daily basis, we have. The president meets with several cabinet officials on a daily basis on several issues. So we are always part of the briefing. So we are there to record and to observe and to take notes
Yeah.
as to the concerns of the president, the observations, comments, and to make sure that that we're able to transmit to media, to the Malacanang Press Corps, the thoughts of the president or the decisions taken by the president.
So, of all the cabinet members, you must have more time with the president than most of them, because you're the spokesperson of the president.
I get a chance to talk to all the cabinet members. I think I've spoken to all cabinet members, but by the very nature of my job,
Right.
there will be issues that personally I'm not aware of. So I have to call up the cabinet secretary. What's this issue all about? It's like you're supposed to know everything. And
Yeah.
it's humanly
It's
impossible.
a difficult job.
And that's why we have to really get to know the cabinet secretary. So it's nice to be the spokesperson. Once they receive a call from the spokesperson, they know it must be something important. So the cabinet secretaries are courteous enough to pick up my call. So
But you also have a bullseye for being the spokesperson.
that's part of the job. I guess the worst part of my job was the first 2 weeks, I think. That
Why?
was the most. I didn't know how to handle media.
Media.
Coming as a practicing lawyer.
So you know how to handle media now?
I know how to deal with them. They're just as nice as you. Well, but seriously, the Malacanang Press Corps is really a nice bunch. They're very open to. I mean, the only thing that they ask is that they be given the news when it's required to be given.
You know, that Malacanang is a terrible beat. Because there's no access. I mean, you know, your subject is a president. If you're a reporter in Malacanang, very seldom do you see a president. When you do see him, it's an official briefing. So everything that you get is fed to you by the spokesperson or by an official press release. There are very rare opportunities for you to find the story inside Malacanang.
No, but if you look at this president compared to the former president, he's more accessible. On a given week, he might have at least 2 ambush interviews. And you get to ask all the questions that the press felt that were not answered. So you get a chance to talk to the president. And the president is very accessible. Early on in the administration, we asked the president, requested the president, Sir, baka pwedeng don't answer the questions kasi sumasagot siya sa mga
Yeah.
tanong ng press. So
He's good at answering questions.
he's good, but it takes a lot of his time.
Okay.
And so he had to concentrate on his papers, official papers, the meetings. So the agreement was, if we don't know the answer, we'll just forward the text to the president, and he will respond to us. So it makes him easier for him to concentrate on his official papers. The much more difficult questions, we make sure we forward to the president to get his thoughts on the matter, or in our meetings, we ask him straight.
On a daily basis, how do you get your directions in terms of the issues? If there are the top 3 issues, is there such a thing? Top 3, top 5 issues? for
We
the
have
day?
every morning we have a meeting among the comms group. We discuss what are the issues of the day, and if there are concerns, news from last night, and commentaries in the morning. We monitor also radio,
Right.
TV.
Yeah.
So we see what are the issues of the day, especially the national issues. So we get to gather all them, and then if we know the answers, we frame the answers, and then those answers which should be answered personally by the president, we make it a point to text the president, ask him, and he responds to us. In some other cases where he feels that it is important, he will call us in, and he will relay his thoughts to us. A lot of them are nice thoughts, but we have to frame it in a manner that is more palatable to media.
When you're with the president in private, how is he as a president in private?
He is very. He is somebody devoid of the perks of the presidency. He's a very gentle, but he's in command. We've seen him these past 2.5 years. He has grown into the office. He's very impressive, especially when there are issues. He has a different take on things. Whenever we have briefings, when cabinet officials present, for instance, a certain issue for him, no matter how prepared you are, they always end up saying at the end of that briefing, parang nag-thesis defense ako. Because the president will ask questions which they don't expect, they didn't anticipate, and which are very, very valid questions. And so you end up, oh nga no, you're wondering, ang galing ng perspective niya. He has a different perspective. I suppose that comes from his experience as a politician, as a congressman, senator, and also his training from his mom and also from his dad. So it's really a, and he's funny, by the way. He's humorous. It's a one side of the president that we are privileged to see.
Yeah, we don't see that.
We don't see that often, but he does sometimes show his
Is he
humorous side.
Is he a patient man?
Oh, he's very, very patient. With all the attacks on him, personal criticisms, have you seen him really responded aggressively against a particular criticism? No, he's very patient. His patience is longer than ours, I think.
Even in private?
Even in private. Sabi ko, sir, pwede bang, like for instance, sir, pwede bang banatan ko na? Ano, wag. Like sometimes you're so tempted to respond because he's hitting the president. I take offense at a unjustified criticism of the president. If it's valid, we discuss it and we learn from it. But sometimes it's so personal, sometimes it's unjustified. So at least as far as I'm concerned, I felt like I should respond, and the president will say, no, wag na. It's not necessary, hayaan mo na. Those are the wisdom that you get from having politicians for your parents who have seen how human nature.
Right. All right. Secretary Lacerda is our guest tonight. We still have more to discuss. Keep it here on the Solar News Channel. We'll be back after this short break. You're still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. And Secretary Edwin Lacerda is our guest tonight. Secretary, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Jing. It's an honor.
How has media been the past 2 years? You said the first 2 weeks was difficult because you didn't know how to handle media.
And I was supposed to give it to Malacanang Press Corps first before I shared with other. Those are details which I was not aware of, and I had to learn it the hard way. I got criticized by that by the Malacanang Press Corps got mad at me. But, you learn from it.
You're friends with the press corps now?
Friends with the press corps now. We discuss things. We make sure that they get the news first.
Yeah.
We, for instance, with the onset of Twitter, social media,
Right.
our policy is any important news that we can give to media, we first download it to Malacanang Press Corps.
Okay.
And then after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we post it in the official gazette, gov.ph. During that time, of course, the Malacanang Press Corps reporters will be tweeting their own. So, and then after that, we tweet also the news. But that's fine with them. There was an instance where I was tweeting ahead of them, and so they said, "Hindi pwede yan." So, okay, we just learned it the hard way again, so we discussed it with them. So that's been the protocol now. And things have been working out well.
Do you think media in this country is biased one way or another?
Not the reporters. If you say bias in the sense of the columnists, understandably they would have they would show their own opinions. But the Malacanang Press Corps are by and large fair to us. They report us how we relay to them, download it to them. And there are of course, some papers we've identified. This is friendly, this is objective, this is super anti, no matter what you say, it's going to be bad for the president.
How do you deal with that?
Well, they're all part of the Malacanang Press Corps. It's our duty to download the information to them. And we can't control how they frame the story or how they spin the story. That's up to them. We hope for good faith as we profess our own good faith to them. So, but by and large, and I can say this, Malacanang Press Corps has been very fair to us, the president, to his administration.
The president always says, why don't you stop reporting bad news and start reporting good news?
Well, I've always asked them that as well, because good news, bad news sells. That's a justification for that. But we've seen a number of good news coming out also, owing with the fact that this president has been achieving so much. For instance, the framework agreement was reported by all the newspapers in a positive light. It was also reported by international media. So, and you've seen a number of achievements by President Aquino this year. You've got GDP of 7.1. You've got the PSE doing record highs after record highs. So
38 record highs.
That's why we have. And I suppose if the more good news that comes out, the reporters or the papers are duty bound to report them as well.
If there was something you wanted to change in media in the Philippines, what would that be?
In media?
Yeah.
I spoke with a foreign correspondent and less sensationalism, I suppose.
Okay.
He was comparing the
way they do
the way
news.
they do it and the way we do it here, and he observed that there's too much sensationalism even in the broadsheets, and that's sometimes also the observation that we have. But there's freedom of the press. So, but if it's the president has already given his opinion in matters of the press, and he's never been shy to say what he thinks or what he feels should be the way news should be reported. And the nice thing about it is, even if he gets criticism with that, we've noticed also a change of attitude in terms of reporting. The president always says that, negativism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why focus on the negative when we can focus on the positive. So that's what we've been doing. Both Secretary Coloma and Secretary Carandang have been coming up with good news that what this administration has been doing. So for instance, our government channel is improving, and our messaging is also continuously churning out news about what the administration has been doing. So, and the important thing is, because the president's advocacy is very clear. It's kung walang korap, walang mahirap, and our poverty alleviation and anti-corruption is so clear, are so clear that the public sees that and accepts it as something that's already a reality, and is a continuing reality.
And that kung walang korap, walang mahirap, how does the president think about that today, 2 years after being elected into office?
It's taking root. I mean, the manifestation there is, the president is very, I always have the good fortune of informing the president, sir, survey mo mataas. Text him, sir, good news. Because I'm the first person to be given that news, for instance, by Business World, because they handle SWS,
Yeah.
and then Pulse Asia will be given also the news, so the survey results. So I have the privilege of informing the president, your numbers are good and all that. So they change. He's not very, although I'm sure he's pleased with the numbers, but alam niya na it's volatile.
But there are new numbers now.
The new numbers
it went
are
down, 67 to what, 55?
You know how we look at the numbers of SWS and Pulse Asia? If you look at the gross numbers, if you don't deduct them from each other, because SWS has a process of satisfaction minus dissatisfaction. You've got the net satisfaction.
Right.
Pulse Asia doesn't do it that way. Pulse Asia says this is your numbers in the past, your approval, disapproval, and they don't net it out. But if you look at the gross numbers, the approval and the satisfaction numbers, they're more or less the same. So we're not really bothered, because the way SWS simply nets it out, and we feel that, we look at the gross numbers. And that's also the same, for instance, the same observation that I have with Bill Esposo. So we don't see it like 72. I think the gross numbers of the president SWS is 72.
72.
So and in Pulse Asia it's around 78 or 80. Approval ratings is 80. Trust ratings 80. 78 is the approval. So it's not that far. So we're not really bothered by it. We're still pleased that the president has maintained his numbers. 2.5 years na to, Jing. So it's not common to have a president going to midterm na mataas pa rin yung numbers niya. All because it's manifested. Kasi, the number one virtue that the president in the surveys, bakit niyo gusto si Presidente, Pangulo Aquino? Kasi honest siya.
And you think that's all that matters now?
It's a very important virtue that the Filipino people value, because they see that if the top leadership is honest, it follows. I suppose this is coming from what we experienced 9 years, during the past administration, where there was certainly doubts as to the integrity of the leadership of the past administration. So you see that, in fact, during the campaign, if you remember the surveys, that was the big difference.
Right. Yeah.
Na dahil hindi corrupt, honest, the virtues of honesty still runs through up till now. And that's a virtue that people see. And it's now manifested in the achievements made by the president.
Okay. Secretary Lacheda is our guest tonight. Let's take another short break. News Cafe will return after these reminders. You're still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and with us tonight is Secretary Edwin Lacheda, spokesperson for the President.
Let me say, I'm impressed with your studio. This is my first time here in the studio.
Well, it's a virtual studio, and it's a toy that we use. But what about the FOI? Where are we on the FOI?
The FOI, the Senate has approved it on third reading.
Yeah.
In so far as the House is concerned, somebody I think will make a sponsorship if somebody has not done it already. But I think it's being reported out of the committee, and hopefully there will be debates. There are certain issues that need to be discussed in the chambers. We have our own version. We submitted the Malacanang version just to say that it's not true that we're not interested in the FOI. Uh, we have got a number of provisions there that are novel. For instance, the publication of SALNs of all government officials. Those are the things that we wanted, and in fact, the president asked, and unknown to most of the public, the president asked. There was a team: Butch, me, Ricky, Manolo, Abby, to study the different FOI laws all over, specifically the U.S., Great Britain, Australia, and I think Canada. So we went through it, and Manolo was the one who's taking charge, taking the lead here. And so, in fact, he already testified before the Senate, and also Ricky also testified before the Senate. We're hoping that there will be a discussion on the floor of the House. So that's one of the things that I think Speaker Belmonte also committed to make sure that there will be discussions on the FOI. We'll see.
What's going on in Cebu?
The Cebu, that's so. The problem in Cebu is that they're accusing this administration of political harassment.
Martial law, daw.
And it's martial law. But the thing is, and they're blaming Secretary Mar Rojas, but it's a decision coming from the Office of the President. There was a administrative complaint filed against Governor Gwen Garcia. And so the OP through Executive Secretary Ochoa issued a decision suspending. This is not a preventive suspension. And so when the order was implemented by DILG, that's where Governor Gwen Garcia decided to hold herself up in the capital. But definitely there's no martial law in Cebu. I mean, nobody can declare martial law.
But why now? Why now and why 6 months? That goes right through the elections next year.
I think the timing will it's not so much a timing. That's only one of the issues they're raising right now. I think that's a peripheral issue. If you notice, the opposition has always been saying it's harassment. Principally because he's not a Governor Gwen Garcia is not a member of the Liberal Party, and they're now also accusing us, for instance, of persecuting Governor Espino. Again, but there are valid complaints against them. If somebody has a valid complaint against any LP official, we'll also investigate. We did that with Samico of Iligan. We did that also with the LP governor in Kalinga. So, siguro we cannot be credible unless we can discipline. The president's part can discipline his own party members also, and that's what he's been doing.
The vice president has been very visible in supporting Gwen Garcia.
Understandably so, but our position is. Even without the presence of the vice president, we have already mentioned prior to that we would encourage Governor Gwen Garcia to follow the rule of law. In fact, she filed a petition for TRO before the Court of Appeals. No TRO has been issued, and that's the reason why we're asking Governor Gwen Garcia. Your petition was not granted by the Court of Appeals, at least the TRO. So perhaps you can follow the rule of law. Of course, what's happening right now is she's defying the suspension order. So we leave it at that.
Have the president and the vice president spoken about this?
I don't think so. When this came up, we were already. When was the suspension? When did the suspension happen? 20 plus.
Yeah.
I don't think they've. To my knowledge. I've not seen them discuss this thing, and the president didn't download anything to us regarding this, because primarily this is a local matter. It is something that should be handled on the provincial matter.
It's a local matter, but on top of the other side you see the vice president, on top of the other side you see the president, and the two most popular politicians in this country are going to come to a head over this issue.
It's up to the elections. Anyway, the 2013, the president's already mentioned it's a referendum on his administration. So he also mentioned that he's going to campaign. And if you know how he campaigned during the presidential elections, he's going to be as active campaigning for his senatorial candidates. And he mentioned to the Malacanang Press Corps that siguro sa umaga I'll be attending to my papers. Sa umagang kampanya, sa hapon yung
Sa
meeting
hapon
with the
yung trabaho.
officials,
Yeah.
sa gabi o sa hapon towards the evening, the official papers. But he's thinking about it already because it's good for us to have a Congress and a Senate that is supportive of the reforms that he has been advocating. And this past year, we've seen a good cooperation from the House and the Senate leadership, and we thank them for that. And we hope that we will continue that cooperation with whoever will be the new leaders in the new Congress.
Okay. RH Bill, again. How's your relationship with the church? The church said it's not over yet. They're going to take it to the Supreme Court.
We believe that we can work together with the church. They have, I don't mean the institutional church itself, but some members of the clergy have been very aggressively attacking the president personally. We have returned the favor with throwing bread. We have not attacked the members of the clergy who attack the president. We believe because principally we know that this is an issue that is doctrinal insofar as the Catholic Church is concerned. And so we believe that now that it has, the Congress has already voted on the RH, we've bring a very divisive issue to a close. We believe that let's move forward and we can work together with the church. If you look at the bill itself, there are many provisions there which took note of the concerns of the church. For instance, sex education is not compulsory. You don't have, the original bill contained a determination of number of children per family. That was taken away.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be an issue on the population. That's very important also. The RH bill has, or the Responsible Parenthood bill, has taken all these things into consideration. And if you really take a look, even for a deeply religious Catholic, you would see that the law itself has been very tolerant of and has taken into consideration the concerns, especially of the Catholic Church. So I hope in that regard, we and the members of, the leaders of the church can work together in serving the welfare of the Filipino people, be it, for instance, natural family planning, which we also encourage, and which are also going to be funded under the law, and be it artificial family planning. The important thing is that the Filipino couple is given the choice, the information, the necessary information, and from that information they make an informed choice, an informed decision as to the nature, as to the family size.
There's a lot of copies of the RH bill now that are going around. I have a copy myself. But we're going to have to wait for an announcement. How soon is the announcement going to be?
We'll see. Tomorrow, I think there's a radio briefing by Abby, deputy spokesperson.
Okay.
Abby.
And we'll find out by then?
We'll find out by then. That's the well, Abby will take charge of that. It's not my day off tomorrow.
Okay. Last word, Secretary. The next, up to 2016, what do you see happening to your job? What do you see happening to your relationship with the media?
I think as we continue with the work that we do with the programs of the president, I don't think it's going to be hard to convince the electorate why the president is doing the things that he's doing. Obviously, there will be some issues which will be contentious, and that's something that we will have to be proactive or to be prepared in responding to. But by and large, the promises of the president have been being fulfilled, and so I don't think we'll have a very difficult time. Malacanang press corps, the main media that we're dealing with, has been very, very fair. I have good words for the members of the Malacanang press corps. So I think as we continue the path of Tuwid na Daan, I think it may be difficult because we're continuing to clear the landmines, but I think the Filipino people is behind the president in his advocacy, in his program of good governance. As they say, good governance is good economics. So we hope that this will also translate to the betterment of our people through increased jobs, employment, and also through our CCT, Congressional Cash Transfer, we can break the cycle of poverty and hopefully lift them up to a better level of standard of living.
Secretary Lucero, thank you for
Thank you, Jane.
coming to the studio tonight. Thanks for
It's
your
an
time.
honor.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for tonight. We'd like to thank the Secretary for granting us this one-on-one interview, discussing his role as a presidential spokesman and his assessments of the year that was. Thanks to the Secretary, and thanks for watching. Good night.
Sa karoon sa 14 na ba nakasalanan